Hi everybody, we've just got to finish the theory programme for the semester. Last time we met, we talked about Freudian analysis, and it helped to understand the psychological meaning behind a text. Now we're going to develop that idea a bit further and look at something called transactional analysis. And this will help us understand what's going on behind the scenes at a psychological level whenever two people interact socially. Sigmund Freud developed the idea of the ego, which is the conscious part of the mind, the part of the mind that's aware of itself. Eric Berne developed this idea further and described 3 ego states. These are states of mind that we're able to flip between, and they will directly influence the way that we act and interact with each other. He named these 3 ego states parent-like, adult and childlike. Let's take a look at what he meant. Hopefully you can tell from my tone of voice that I'm talking to you using my calm and rational adult ego state. We like to think of ourselves as very rational creatures making decisions based on fact and analysis. But very often our decision making can be influenced very strongly by our emotional state of mind. So at the moment driving this car, I'm attempting to behave in a very rational way, making judgments based on fact and analysis. But all too easily, I can allow my judgment to be coloured by my emotions. And this is where problems like road rage can take hold.
Oh my God! Just look where you're going, you
So when something upsets us, we might find that our calm, analytical adult state quickly gives way to the parent-like ego state, where we unconsciously mimic how authority figures behaved when we were young. Right, in order to show you the very best example of someone really losing it, we have to go back to 1975 and imagine that this is not a street behind the Harrow campus, but is in fact a seaside town somewhere in Devon.
You vicious bastard! Come on! Oh my God! I'm holding you if you don't stop! I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3, right! That's it! You've tried it on just once too often! Right! Well, don't say I haven't warned you! I've laid it on the line to you time and time again! Right! Well, this is it! I'm gonna give you a damn good thrashing!
The third ego state that Berne identified is the childlike ego state, where we behave, think and feel as we did when we were young. Just imagine if you got caught shoplifting. Not that there's much to take at the moment, but you'd feel really embarrassed. You'd want to pass the blame. It's not your fault, surely. These are all traits of the child ego mindset.
Will you that pervert?
I told you before, you got to put the pick and mix in a bag.
Good, you see, race test. Right now.
Are you going to pay for those?
No, but, yeah, but, no, but. Yeah, because I was just about to do it if you had waited. God, this is too unfair. And I never even did nothing or nothing. This is like being back at Borstow. Honestly, if anyone thinks anything, it's Michelle Poop, because we was all at the leisure centre, and Michelle Poop put around at the chocolate machine to try and pitch pack of paint puppets, and when she got around stuck, and I tried to cut it off with a penknife. She completely had nappy and said, Mr. Bailey was right, I am a educationally subnormal. But anyway, don't listen to her, because everyone knows she's done it with Alsatian.
Okay, I think it's time to go now.
We can switch between ego states a bit like traffic lights changing colour. Eric Berne suggested that by identifying which ego states we're using, our behaviour can be understood. Here's an example of how we can switch between ego states. You're browsing the internet and you find an item. It's love at first sight. You're very excited and you simply must have it. You look at the price tag. This is a total rip-off. It's not worth half of that money. These guys are crooks. You weigh things up. You realise that you can't afford this item right now. But the urge is too strong, and you go ahead and buy it anyway. When it finally arrives, you've had time to cool off, and you realise you don't really need it anyway. This is called buyer's remorse, so you return it. A transaction is an exchange between two or more people. A financial transaction occurs when a shopper buys something from a shopkeeper. The shopkeeper hands over goods in exchange for cash. A social transaction is a bit like a tennis game, where the players follow a set of rules to ensure they can continue to interact with each other successfully. When social transactions break down, it can lead to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and even fights. Let's take a look at some social transactions now and see if we can work out what's going on behind the scenes.
Nice weather.
Isn't it?
In this little drama, both characters are engaging in that British pastime of discussing the weather. You can see that they are both operating within the adult ego state. Let's look at a slightly different drama now.
Wash your face.
Don't be rude.
Player 1 is the angry parent telling off the inner child of Player 2. But Player 2 is also provoked to retaliate and is also in the parent ego state.
How are you?
Why do you care?
In this example, a simple request for information from an adult is replied to by a sulky child.
You should have done this by now.
Why are you talking to me in that tone of voice?
Okay, well that's definitely an angry parent. But the response comes from a calm adult. When studying transactions, Eric Berne identified a number of patterns. He called these patterns games, but they're nothing to do with having fun. In fact, it can be a bit of a nuisance when people start playing games, as we're about to find out.
I can't think of any ideas for my film.
Why don't you go to the library and get out some books?
Yes, but I don't have my library card today.
Then why don't you visit a museum? Maybe you'll get some inspiration there.
Yes, but I quickly get bored in museums. They're just full of old stuff.
Why don't you browse the internet then?
Yes, but I tried that. There's just too much stuff. I don't know where to begin.
So why don't you take a long walk and mull things over? Maybe an idea will start to come to you.
Yes, but I tried that. It never works for me. I guess I'm just not a creative person then.
I'm sure you are. So why don't you write down a list of things that interest you? I'm sure there'll be something there to get you started.
Yes, but that sounds like a lot of hard work, and I need to get this project finished by tomorrow.
So why don't you just do the very first thing that pops into your head?
Yes, but that would be a boring cliche, surely.
In this game, Player 2 presents themselves as someone with a problem, and Player 1 attempts to provide solutions. The game can continue indefinitely as long as Player 2 finds reasons why Player 1's suggestions cannot work. Eric Berne called this game, Why Don't You? Yes But. It was the first game he discovered because it's the transaction that tends to take place in the psychiatrist's clinic. Player 2 presents themselves as the helpless child, and Player 1 is the parental figure offering guidance. There is, however, an antidote to this game. The game can be stopped if player 1 refuses to join in and switches ego state from the parent to the adult, like this.
I cannot think of any ideas for my film.
Oh dear, that is a tricky problem. So what do you intend to do about it?
The game is ended by player 1 when they move from their parent ego state to the adult ego state and force player 2 to abandon their childlike state and begin to take responsibility for their own problem. Transactional analysis is useful when analysing drama, as it helps us to understand the motivations and viewpoints of the characters. Let's see how it can help us decode a really complex dramatic situation. The characters in this little drama are Basil, who runs a small hotel, his wife, Sybil, Sybil's friend, and a guest. To begin with, Sybil is gossiping in a childlike way with her friend. Basil is normally angry with everyone, but for some reason he's able to coexist with his wife. We can only assume they have a reciprocal relationship, where Sybil is the only person able to parent Basil. The guest is the only adult, and just wants some simple information. However, this request provokes Basil's parent side. Watch how quickly Basil flips from parent to child during this sequence. The guest refuses to reciprocate, but instead reinforces their adult request. This enrages Basil, but the guest holds his ground, only getting slightly irate at the very end. The drama concludes with a lovely sequence between Basil and the waiter Manuel. Basil is the bossy parent and Manuel the cheeky child. Watch closely, because the transactions come thick and fast.
No, just lighting up. Go on. I know, I've heard that with her mother in the same room. No, of course I won't. Go on. Basil?
Yes, dear?
Oh, no, who saw them? Basil?
Yes, dear?
Could you come and attend to a gentleman out here, dear? 19?
What, you mean out where you are, dear?
Well, last one was only 22. It was.
That's right, quite busy in here, dear. Are you very busy out there?
I'm on the telephone, Basil. My husband will be with you in a moment.
Yes, thank you. So I'll stop work and come out there, shall I, dear?
No, the Maltese one.
Well, I'm glad that's settled then.
No, dear, he was an Arab.
Darling, when you've finished, why don't you have a nice lie down? I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting, sir. I had no idea my wife was so busy.
Fear not, kind sir, it matters not one whit.
Beg your pardon?
It matters not one whit. Time is not pressing on me, fortunately. Now, some information, please. This afternoon, I have to visit the town for sundry purposes which will be of no interest to you, I'm quite sure. But nevertheless, I shall require your aid in getting for me some sort of transport, some hired vehicle, that is, to get me to my first port of call.
You all right?
Oh, yes. Yes, I find the air here most invigorating.
I see. What did I gather from your first announcement that you want a taxi?
In a nutshell.
Case, all right.
At 2 o'clock, please.
Well, there's the number of the local firm.
Now, please, could you get it for me? Because I never use the telephone if I can avoid it.
Why not?
Risk of infection. So, when I finish, right? Now, I have a rendezvous at 5 o'clock at this address, which I must reach from the post office in Queen's Square. Now, as the map is sadly inadequate, I would be very grateful if you could draw me a diagram of the optimum route.
Well, I mean, may I ask what's wrong with the map?
Well, it's got curry on it.
Well, look, it's perfectly simple. You go to the end of Queen's Parade and... No, just listen.
No, I just want a diagram,
No,
please.
it's really very simple.
Well, I'd rather have a diagram if it won't put you out.
Well, it does put me out.
Well, I'd like it all the same.
Basil?
Right.
Yeah, then.
We do have pens.
Oh, yeah?
We have actually got pens in the hotel, thank you so much. Somewhere. I mean, where are the pens? I mean, would you believe it? I mean, there are no pens here. I mean, this is supposed to be a hotel. Well, what are they doing in there?
I put them there.
Why?
Just sign there, Mr. Walt, because you're always losing them, Basil.
I am not always losing them. People take them.
Well, they don't take them from me.
They wouldn't dare. Well, I'm sorry I didn't guess that you'd suddenly done that after 12 years, dear. I'm afraid my psychic powers must be a little bit below par this morning. There we are.
Don't be silly, Basil. It's written there quite clearly on the top of the box.
Pens? Looks more like Bens to me.
Well, when Ben comes, you can give it to him. Mr. Walt's in room 7.
What do you think? Doesn't that look like Bens to you?
Not really.
Well, it does to me. Look, there's a P.
No, I don't quite understand this. Where is the post office?
It's there where it says post office. I'm sorry if it's confusing.
Oh, yeah. P off. Yeah, you've used the abbreviation.
Ah, the penny's dropped.
Yeah, well, I thought it said Boff.
Of course.
Yes, and I thought that Boff was a locale, you see, a name of a district, you see. That P looks like a B.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, the little loop on
Excuse
the
me,
bottom
would you say
of
that
it.
was a P or a B? There, does it say Boff or does it say Poff?
Well,
There, it's a P, isn't it?
I suppose so.
P off.
I beg your pardon?
P off. P off. Who ever heard of a post office? 9?
What?
Room 9.
Room 7.
Manuel, would you take these cases to room 7, please?
Okay.
He thinks Boff is a locale.
He thinks what?
You know, some zone, some province in equatorial Turkey.
I hope you've enjoyed this quick introduction to transactional analysis, and you now feel confident to use it to help you decode the psychological meaning behind a text. Thanks for watching.